I'm the assistant curate here at Holy Cross. My home church is St. Agnes Anglican Church. I've been assistant curate here at Holy Cross since September 1st last year. I was raised by my grandparents, Robert and Amy Miller, from the age of 3 years old. They are the only Anglicans that I know in my family. And so I was raised with them from 3 years old. And it was at that point in time, I recognized the call on my life to the ordained ministry. My experiences here have been a beautiful one here at Holy Cross. To be Anglican, it's from my understanding from the apostolic tradition that this has been passed down through it generations and generations. And it is what we have now. To be Anglican, for me, is to be Christian as well. And so I believe that Anglicanism is one form of many of which we use to worship God. I can remember a memory that I have of the annual general meeting, our first one, February past, and the support that the parish gave to that general meeting for the young people was one to remember. All of us are on a journey, and sometimes that journey takes us to different places. And just to let you know that you and I are on a walk. And it is within this walk that we must realize that things aren't always going to be easy. Things aren't going to come as we would want them to be. But we should just keep walking in faith, and God will always see us through. Well, with respect to the way we worship and the modernization versus the traditional list in our communion, we must realize that the Anglican Church thrives on the phrase via media, the middle way. So for those of us who are interested in the traditional style of worship, we would go to a place like St. Agnes or St. Matthew. But for those of us who want to be Anglican and have tradition along with some of the modern things, we come to churches like Holy Cross and our Holy Trinity. You see, there is no need for trying to change these places, but just create new ones that provide a place for worship as well. One thing I like about Holy Cross is they're very youth-centered and youth-minded, and because this is a very young church. So this church has always provided an opportunity for the young people to do things. And so that is why a young person here would thrive, because they would have the ability to do several different things in different ministries, whether they want to be a dancer, whether they want to be a server, whether they want to be in the band, whether they want to be a part of the Christian youth movement or the Anglican young adults or the Christian achievers, or so on and so forth, a plethora of organizations for them to be a part of and to lend a helping hand in ministering as we spread the gospel to this community. One thing I liked and really learned from Canon is his pastoralia. When he enters into a sick individual's or a confined individual's house, his pastoralia towards them, their conversation, how he is always uplifting them. And there were times when in the car, when things seemed so gloomy, I would ask him, well, how does he stay so positive with that individual, knowing what's looming for them? And he says to them, well, you never know what God would have for them. You never know what healing God would have for them. And you are a representative, you as in I and him, are representatives of God. And so we always must give an encouraging word when we get there, and to show them that God hasn't forgotten them and God's church has not forgotten them. He has a very pastoral touch that I have been trying to learn from him over these past couple of months. Well, the reality is the diocese has a shortage of priests, and there are many churches within our diocese on our out islands who do not have clergy. And so the bishop has asked us once a month to go out to these different parishes to minister to the people of God, because they still need to be ministered to, and they still need to be shepherded. And so the bishop has provided us an opportunity to go out and to minister to them, to talk to them, to visit their sick as well. And so the opportunity that I had was to go to Inagua. And so I went to meet the good people of St. Philip's, Inagua. And I also got the opportunity to see the salt ponds, the flamingos, and so on and so forth. But it was a good and growing opportunity for me, coming from a place of St. Agnes and now at Holy Cross. We as an Anglican church have been having the issue of persons leaving our churches due to different factors, whether that be worship, whether that be personality, whether that be spirituality, so on and so on. A plethora of reasons they've been leaving our churches. And so the church is always sustaining in itself. But with regard to a specific individual who wants to leave the church and explore, I totally believe God has us where we are for a reason. And if your journey, and if God has your journey to be someplace else, who am I to stop that individual? God calls us differently to different journeys. Some people's journey may be to stay here at Holy Cross their whole lives. Others' journey may take them away, bring them back, or not at all. For me, and my personal view on the matter, in terms of one looking to different religions, I would ask that individual, how much do you know of the faith that you are now in, as opposed to the religion that you want to be, the new religion that you want to be a part of? But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to the eschatological, as it were, in terms of what happens at the end times. Will it be a situation where only Christians get to heaven, or only Buddhists go to heaven, or we find when we die that the Muslims had it correct? At the end of times, when all is said and done, I believe that only God can make that kind of decision where one spends eternity. Of course, my answer is going to be obvious, and I want you to stay within the Christian faith. But at the end of the day, if your journey needs to take you elsewhere to bring you back, then take your journey. My experience here has been a beautiful one and a growing one as well. As we've said before, I'm from a traditional church of St. Agnes. So coming into Holy Cross with the drums and the praise and worship and the dances was initially a bit whelming, as it were. But as the time passed and I grew to love the people and the people grew to love me as well, I started to grow and understand my faith, this via media, a little bit more than I did before. And I got to the point where that I'm now a part of on the praise and worship. You know, I sing in, though they have the mics, I'm singing as well, and I'm clapping my hands and so on and so forth, and aiding in worship and joining in worship with the people. And so, though there are differences between my background and where I find myself now, I appreciate this church and I appreciate its people and its form of worship as well. And I look to take all of that I've learned here with me as I take up my new post. My next assignment is to be the assistant curate at St. Andrew's Anglican Church, Exuma, my rector being the Reverend Father Ethan Ferguson, a former assistant curate here at Holy Cross. And also, I would be expected to be the chaplain of the all-age school there of St. Andrew's, and also the teacher of family life. My last Sunday here is going to be September 19th. Canon Lightbourne's last Sunday, the rector here. Continue to be faithful. Continue to love one another. Continue to be a family as you are now. Because it is in that, being a family and being a true family knit together in love, that this parish is going to grow and thrive as I know it should.